And I myself, while preparing the slides, was thinking that, okay, this is too much power packed into one session, but you know what? We have to do it anyways. Before moving forward, what I would love to know is that what's your take on what is storytelling? Because there are three keywords here that we are using. One is storytelling, one is leadership, one is advocacy. So, what in your thinking is storytelling?
Ma'am, maybe how we can express our feelings, maybe.
No, not express our feelings. Express some feelings, maybe, because I'm not talking about particularly you. Storytelling. Yes, Miss Linian.
Thank you. I think, in my opinion, it's like conversational, where it's like I don't want to use the word story, but conversational, like a presentation or uh, something that's conversation. It's like one thing leads to another. It's also like in sync, a story that is in sync. There's like part one, part B, part like that.
Okay. Okay. Yes, Miss Esther.
Can I go, please?
Okay, Ma. Storytelling is a means of talking about events either in the past or events that are fixtures in your mind.
Okay. Miss Lilika said storytelling is the act of narrating an event which occurred or not. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Then, hello.
Yeah, so to me, storytelling is about telling or having a conversation with someone or some people about something that had happened in the past, something that is happening, that you think is important for them to know. Yeah.
Okay. Miss Mariam said a way to create an emotional connection with people. Yes. Miss Rihanna said it's a way to express something in natural way. Can you elaborate, Miss Rihanna? What natural way? If you wouldn't mind. It is about telling lived experience to other, is a way to share emotion.
Hi.
Hi.
I hope you're doing well and good night, everyone. So I said that it's a natural, it's a way to express something in a natural way. For example, we don't say more things, or we don't do excesses in our expresses, and also show our feeling and our thought in naturally.
Okay. I have read some really good definitions and heard something. There's a little difference in what you guys are explaining to me. So, storytelling, act of sharing, yeah, we can say act, but in my view, it's an art. Storytelling is an art of sharing, not sharing, but writing and telling. We are not sharing anything, we are telling something. Or and with this word telling and sharing lies the crux of what we are going to do here today. We are not doing it to share something. We are doing something to tell people that, okay, this is our intended message. I am not sharing, I'm not doing some sort of, favor for you. What I'm doing is that I'm doing my work and I need to tell you something. Sharing and telling have two different connotations with it, and and knowing the right word is going to help you in building the storytelling. It's an art form. How you are going to tell something, some story, or write something or some story to someone. Now, I read someone saying through narratives. Narrative is different than story. to be honest. Narrative is when you give a proper lens to your story. And by lens, I means when you are talking about that, okay, this, for example, climate action has happened. Some countries are devastatingly affected by it. You are giving it a lens that, okay, there needs to be the countries who have a lot of carbon emission needs to be held responsible for it. You have given it a lens, and you have created a narrative that countries with larger emissions, carbon emissions, are the ones responsible for this. But in contrast, if someone says that the country who is affected needs to do something about it, then there you have given it a different lens. These lenses give or make certain story a narrative. This is the difference. And you need to be very sure whether you are doing a narrative or you telling a simple story, or are you messaging something. Finding the right word for what you want to emote is the crux of how you can effectively and immediately transfer or work on your storytelling. Then, same goes, what is leadership and what is advocacy? Think about it. What do you think in your particular mind? What is leadership? Anyone, what is leadership? Okay, not leadership. Does anyone know what is advocacy? Yes, Miss Esther.
Leadership is the process of showing people a way that you want them to walk in. And advocacy is about bringing out ideas and communicating to a particular group of persons in a particular way that you're choosing to get across a message to them.
Okay, yes, Miss Rehana.
In my opinion, leader is someone who helps other to move in the right direction, and they work together. And leadership is the art of how can I say this? The art of this communication or direction that leaders do it, and we have okay, it's done. And also, what is advocacy? In my opinion, it means supporting and defending or speaking up for a person, for a group, and also idea.
Okay, thank you. Someone has said leadership is the act of standing ahead of people working towards a same goal. Not particularly. Advocacy is about speaking up for a cause or people. Okay. Leadership is the ability to influence, inspire, and guide individuals. Yes, this is what ChatGPT gives us the very first thing that you ask. But yes, leadership is the ability rather than saying that, okay, it's an act of standing up. No, it's the ability. Leadership is ability, storytelling is an art. Okay. And when we go towards the advocacy, someone had written here advocacy is someone was writing here, yes, advocacy is about speaking up for the cause of people. Yes. Advocacy is the main thing that where you say that, okay, you support something, you publicly, main word here is publicly. When you publicly say something in the interest of something, you say something that, okay, I am interested in this topic, I support this advancement, whether it be positive, whether it be negative, your actions are very clear, and then you work towards it. Now think back. Ms. Rupa said advocacy is speaking up and standing up for a belief. Yes, yes, in simple words, yes, this is what advocacy is. Miss Hamida said leadership is a set of behaviors and their effects. No, leadership is the ability to influence someone. Again, storytelling is an art, leadership is the ability, and advocacy is when you speak up about something. Now, in retrospect, see what is the topic. The art of storytelling, the art of telling something for ability to influence something and standing up for something. So this is the crux we are going to do today, where we are going to learn that how we need, there are different ways, that is visual, written and digital, to be honest, through which we turn real work into a very clear, ethical and persuasive communication. All of these things go hand in hand, to be honest. Ethics are as important as persuasive communication, and it has to be clear as much as it has to be ethical. Is advocacy considered an act? Mm, no, no, it's not an act. An act is like how I explain you. Advocacy is rather you expressing something, it is rather you showing support to something. Act is where you act upon it. Advocacy, in its real meaning, is just you showing support, and then when you work on it, you make it a campaign. You advocate it. I hope I was able to answer your question. Okay. Now, what are the session goals? We have to understand the narrative power. Again, I am using the word narrative rather than storytelling. So, meaning I am giving a narrative to a certain topic. Then comes document ethically. Now, documentations and ethics. Ethics are very important, which again is the one of the main goal of this session, which we are going to learn that how responsibility and ethical documentation plays a huge part in storytelling and narrative building. Structure with clarity, and designing engaging content or communicating it very effectively. Now, you see, I am talking about three things. I am talking about the written part where we are creating narrative, then documentation part where I'm saying that, okay, now that we have written it, I need to go visual. I need to document it, maybe in forms of a folder or a file or whatever. Then structure with clarity. Here I'm talking about going digital, where I'm going to be talking about that how you can turn some feature or some storytelling into a visual narrative. These three things, uh, at the end of the day, are one of the most important ingredient of any effective communication. Now, why storytelling matters? Again, I'll reiterate. Right now, I'm talking about storytelling, not narrative. Why storytelling matters? Why the art of telling something matters? Why? Because the first things. Take it as a loop. Stories shape perception. They create a mental model. Stories or narratives create a mental model that influence how people interpret something. How you first, you are the person who is going to give that story a lens, create a narrative, and people will see it, and people will create their own narrative as well. They will have their own opinion about that particular story as well. You cannot say that, okay, the thing I have created, the narrative I want to build is the same narrative that people are going to take from my story. No, that is one of the stupidest things, pardon my language, one can think or do about their topic. This is one of the things that you need to consider while creating a campaign or whatever storytelling or whatever narrative you are creating. What you need to do is that think of as a layman person and see that, okay, I am emoting something, I want to tell someone something, and I have this huge gap where I think people are not going to understand something. Here comes the feedback area where I think when you create something, again, we will discuss it later in detail. When creating stories or telling narratives, you need to be very on hands with your design because it is going to tell you that whether people are understanding what you want to tell others as well. If neither, if either one of, sorry, if even one of the person is not understanding what you want to tell, then to be honest, you have not achieved the art of telling a story. So on paper, stories shape perceptions. You are going to give it a lens, then people themselves who see are going to interpret it into a different reality and give their lens and create a different narrative. Then those perceptions, those narrative build trust. Clear understanding of what you want to tell people and what people are understanding. Are you have to create a design or a way to communicate in such a way that at least 80 to 90% people are on the same page with you, because those perceptions, those narratives are going to build trust. People are going to believe in your message, people are going to believe in your mission, they are going to believe in what you are advocating for. That trust, which has been built by because of the narratives and perceptions, is going to create influence. When people are trusting your story, when people are trusting your narrative, when people are trusting what models or mental models you want to communicate, they become advocate and supporters for your cause. Okay. And when that influence has been created, then that influence drives the impact you are looking for, or you want to put in place, or you want to work on that influence impact, sorry. So this is again a loop, and by loop I means that your storytelling or your art or the storytelling does not end when you have created an impact. When you have created an impact, you yourself find another problem or another story to tell, and this loop starts again. You go to the first box where through that story you are going to create a perception, then through the perception you are going to create trust, then trust gains influence, and influence drives impact. Again, this is a loop, and as much as you want to go in that loop, it's up to you. So far so good, everyone is on the same page with me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Now comes leadership in communication. I wanted that you guys understand that what am I talking about communication in terms of leadership, because our topic is storytelling for leadership and advocacy. Now, why communication matters, I am talking about in terms of leadership. If people don't understand your work, they are not going to understand anything, and they are not going to advocate anything for you. Again, as I said, why storytelling matters, these four things. So keep these four things in mind and think like this, that you have not created a narrative effectively, you have not communicated the narrative effectively, then people are not going to even be able to even create a perception about your story. If they have not created a perception, how you are going to start this loop? So to start this loop, effectively communicating a topic is very important. Now, clear stories make projects visible. If you have gone through this loop, you have started this loop, you have helped people create a perception. Then, in turns, from those perceptions, you have created trust. So, when you are at that point, it means that you have created clear stories, you have made your project visible so that people are talking about it, people are able to. So, wait, Miss Elizabeth, I'll give you the answer. So, people have been able to communicate with your topic. They have been able to relate to your whatever the reason you are advocating for. They have been able to understand it very well and then make it to a public opinion. What is public opinion? Public opinion is that where a larger chunk in your community or in your country or in your diaspora, people are talking about the same topic and they have certain opinions about it. So, public opinion plays a very important role in creating trust and perceptions. If there is a problem that you think is worth highlighting for, right? You think that climate action or climate, there needs to be some policies for climate in my country, you think that it's a problem, but in your general community the perception is no such, that okay, they are okay with what is happening, then you cannot push forward that idea any further. Why? Because your general community has no public opinion about it. So public opinion matters a lot. So clear stories, telling them in as layman language as you can, yet powerful language is what's going to make your project visible. Now, visibility again, visibility attracts support and partnership. Again, when you are visible, people of the same interest are going to come, and then they are going to talk about your topic or your certain area of interest, and they are going to help you in advocating for it. Now these people are called, we call them in particular language or in specialized academic language, we call them actors. Okay, they are actors, but if there's another name for it, that is called stakeholders. So these stakeholders can vary from like national and international level to the basic community level. For example, what are these actors or what are the supports you can get, support systems? Your local government, your politicians, your NGOs, your ministries, your if there is any international body, or as below as your local municipal or whatever political system you live in, a small mayor or whatever the state governor that you can get into. So these are the stakeholders which, in if you are visible with your projects and clear communication, then you can get their support as well. Let's take some questions. So impact can be negative or positive. Yes, impact can be negative or positive, but what we are looking for is the positive impact. If it's negative, then it means that you yourself has not been able to communicate your topic in an effective way. Can someone be an effective leader without strong storytelling skills? No. In my view, no. Again, a lot of things is subjective. By subjective, I mean it varies from one person to person. I think so. This question, Miss Maheen can be able to answer it effectively. That whether a leader can be effective without strong storytelling skills, because I am not a leader myself. Not in that sense. I have not advocated for anything. So Miss Maheen can answer this. Okay. I think so. She is not in the session at the moment. In my view, no, you cannot be an effective leader. Why? Because if you are not able to, if you do not have the art of telling a story, you do not have art of telling something to someone, which in turn is going to convince them, then no, I don't think so you can be a leader. Okay, from experience to story. Again, there is many crux to many, hearts to a lot of these things. Now how a story is made, a lot of you in earlier session said to me that okay, a story is narrating an event, but rather than event, it's an experience. So raw experience, what document what has happened without interpretation. I am talking about in a sense because we are in a professional ground and we are not talking about here fantasy or contemporary art. What we are talking about here is how we build leadership, advocate for something, build campaigns, and then build features. So, raw experience, document what has happened without interpretations, without giving in a narrative. Just write as roughly as you can, but true to what has happened. Then reflect. Identify key moments, challenges, and learning in all of the campaign that you are going for. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose say one of you is doing a campaign on children's education, right? Women to be girls' education. You go on ground and you talk to a community where they share their experience that why they are unable to get education in that particular community. First, my suggestion is that you document as true to as possible. Then you reflect. Then you go back. You have taken the interviews. Then you go back, sit, and then you reflect. You reflect what were the key moments. Did you have any issue in even getting people to give you the interview? Did you have any other challenge? Was road to that particular community infrastructure really bad? Was the issue cultural? Was the issue social? Then at this point, you sit and you reflect and you learn and you write down what your narrative is going to be. Because at this point of time, when you are thinking, narrative is already building in your mind. Then give it a structure. Now, give it a structure is that when you give it a proper lens and then you create a clear narrative framework. For example, in the same topic, you think that highlighting social causes is far more needed than any other infrastructure or government issues. That, okay, the issue is with the parents or issue is the societal in that particular community, then you have already given it a lens that, okay, I'm only talking about this. Then give it a structure. Sit down and give it a structure. Then you write the message in this particular case. The message is the core insight that you have. Any action, then you go for the action where you say that, okay, I want to drive a meaningful change just by what I am writing. I need it to be influential. So if you have gone through all of these things, then these experience is going to create a story, and then in this whole process you achieve the art of telling a story. So this is what storytelling is. And in turn, this is the communication that we are looking for because we are building campaigns. So far, so good.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why do people respond more strongly to stories than to statistics? Miss Abdali, may I ask you a question? What kind of stories you are talking about? Are you talking about the fantasy or are you talking about features or campaigns?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi,
Hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Um, Fine, thank you. My question is about in general why people believe a story more than statistics.
Okay, it's a general question. So, Ms. Abdali, the
Yeah.
thing is that people relate more to the lived experiences. By written experiences, the more detail you get, the more people attracted because there is always something that one person can connect to, either an emotion, either a certain situation, or either a certain interest people can relate to. Statistics, then, in that case, come in handy if you want to give it a research based backing. So they go hand in hand. But to answer your question, stories are more relatable because a person can somehow relate to either even a smallest of nuance in that particular story, in terms of, again, in terms of emotion, in terms of a particular feeling, in terms of a particular setting, or in terms of anything. You can relate to that in that, depending upon what kind of story that you are telling. Now, what is the core story framework? There is a framework that we follow to build that story from that particular experience that we are talking about. Now, the very first thing is problem. Defining that the issue or the challenge that you are addressing. That is the very first thing. What you need to change or what you need think needs to be changed. Then comes, you need to identify the points or pain problems in this particular stage. The second stage, that is people, where you introduce the community, where you tell what are the people who are involved, what is the diaspora that is involved in my problem, what is the stakeholders that are involved in the problem, where you center the voices, where you tell that, okay, this is the community I am working for. Then the third comes action, where you describe what you did, what interventions or what strategy or what approach you think is the best or what approach you are taking, right? Then fourth comes the change, where you demonstrate that, okay, I have done a measurable transformation or tangible outcome. Okay, that when you have applied that action and you have gotten results. So this change part is where you prove the results that, okay, give my suggested action has worked or not worked. Number five, that is call to action, where you invite others to join, where you inspire, where you ask for support, where you take specific next steps to go global or you want to go big. Okay, I have a question. Does the storytelling apply to LinkedIn post when creating posts? Yes, it can. It can apply. Uh, but again, you will have to adjust it to your need. This is basically what I'm doing here today is talking about a larger framework, the main ingredients that are there. If you talk about LinkedIn posts, let's take an example. You want to work on, let's say you want to post on session, right? You are taking a session with me today on creating a story. Now, if you start with saying that what's the problem, you say that, okay, story, the art of storytelling or the leadership or advocacy, you say that rarely do you see someone work on it. People. So you say people, me, for example, you say that I am one of the people who needs to understand how good storytelling is. And then you call to action that, okay, call to action is that, okay, story, the art of storytelling, these are the five ingredients which have made it possible. And then you talk about change that, okay, that okay, these five ingredients, when I incorporated them into my story, they made it better. And then call to action, you say that, okay, I urge everyone to look into a better storytelling so that everyone can understand you better. See, this is how you can apply this story framework to your LinkedIn post as well. Miss Rehana, is storytelling same with telling stories? If not, what is different? Is storytelling same with telling stories? Miss Rihanna, I did not get your question. Miss Abdali said, if a story does not create change, is the problem with the story or the strategy? It can be both, Miss Abdali. It can be both. It can be your strategy or the way of you telling it. Most of the times it's going to be the way you are telling it. It's going to be the narrative that you are creating. Maybe you are giving it a certain length that is not being able, that people not are able to connect to it. So maybe you need to change the narrative or the lens you are giving to a particular story. But story in itself, again, it comes to the point where I was talking about public opinion. If that story is not talked about in your public or your community, then yes, it creates a problem as well. So again, you yourself need to understand what your particular topic or your particular story lacks or where is the lacking, because this is understanding and knowing of where you stand is one of the most important things that can help you be a better leader. That what were my lackings, what was I short of, isn't and what I need to make it better, and maybe I need to listen to others as well. Telling stories, tell something to someone. Mr. Hannah, can you open the mic and directly ask the question? I apologize, I'm unable to understand your question. Now, let's move forward. The core story framework. Again, problem, people, action, impact, call to action. Now, let's take an example. I have written two of these things together so that you can understand. What's the problem? The problem is rising heat waves, right? You are identifying that the heat waves in your community or your country are rising. The people, the local farmers are the ones who are affected the most. Now, this is again a narrative that you are giving, that I am specifically going to talk about local farmers. Maybe someone in you might want to say that people are the ones being affected by rising heat waves because our country or our community is not very openly or adjusted to rising heat waves. So, giving this, talking about the diaspora you are working on is going to give you a certain lens and create a certain narrative in itself as well. Then comes the action, where what to do. You say that, okay, local farmers. See, since you have given it a narrative of local farmers, So you are saying that, okay, their agriculture or their crops are the ones being affected the most. So if you say that the action is that we need to conserve water. If your narrative was different and you were talking about people, then you might have said that, okay, there needs to be, again, there are a lot of possibilities for people as well. Maybe they need to stay indoors as well. Then again, the action changes due to the people, due because of the diaspora that you are working on. Then comes the impact, safer crops. By conserving water for this particular problem, by conserving water, we can have safer crops. And you, let's suppose, say you have piloted it. So, pilot study is when you test your solution on a very small scale. And then CTA. CTA is call to action, right? You say that call to action is join this workshop because I am campaigning for this and I am helping people understand it better so that they can go and apply this to their crops. In this particular case, the diaspora was farmers. So your call to action was to farmers. Can we also assume that no matter how much we tell the story, it might just not make meaning to some people? Yes, Miss Beatrice. That is one of the main things I said in the beginning. That this is the one thing that you need to be very sure, be very clear in your mind that there are people out there who are not going to connect to you, then that is not your diaspora at the end. Your diaspora, the people you are working for, the people who are affected on the problem you are working on needs to understand. And not all people, just the diaspora you are working on. Like, for example, in this particular problem, the affected people were local farmers. Your campaign should be understood by the local farmers rather than the whole community. So if your diaspora is understanding your problem, then you have achieved your goal. But if your diaspora is in itself not understanding the problem, then you need to go back and look at your communication, that whether it was effective. Again, if they are not, then it's not an effective communication. Then you need to go back and change your strategy. Do you always have to outline, provide evidence in your problem statement? No. No. At problem statement, you do not give evidence. You give evidence when you are explaining your problem a little largely. If you can give statistics, I'm talking about purely talking about academic research or academic communication, then yes, you do add evidences. Evidences are the statistics that we are talking about. If you can add statistics, then yes, it's going to give a star to your project or your campaign. Where evidence is needed is your impact part, where you are telling that my solution worked or not worked at all. That is where outline or evidence is needed. If you can give it before that, okay, 70% of people are seven. So you see, the evidence comes also in terms of when you are talking about the diaspora, saying that, okay, this is the problem, rising heat waves. And when you come to the part where you are explaining the diaspora that is affected by it, in this case, it was local farmers, you need to say that, okay, 70% of local farmers are affected by it. So once here is the evidence needed, and then on the impact part where you are telling that my solution worked or not. This is the two places where evidence is needed, not in the problem statement. You are just stating the problem. What are the three essential elements of a story that leads to action? What are the three essential elements of a story that leads to action? Your problem, talking about the people, and knowing the community that you are working on. These are the basic two ingredients, not three, that are going to help you go for action. You see, if you can understand these two effectively, then you are going to be able to understand what the solution is going to be. So far, so good?
Good.
Okay.
Good night.
Now turning projects into stories. Projects, now we have talked about the building a story, right? That was the written part. That was the written part. Now, what we are going to be focusing on is how we are going to move a step ahead and building stories, building projects from these stories. Now, what was before? What wasn't working again? Identifying the problem, setting the context, showing the urgency that why this urgency is needed. Now, when you're talking about the urgency, then yes, for urgency, you might need some evidence or you might need some statistics that, okay, these statistics show that there is a need for urgency to solve this problem. Then comes the intervention, what you did. What was your approach? What was the key actions? What was the methodology in terms of if you are doing academic work, what was the methodology that you use? Then comes the after, where you measure change, where you see that, okay, was there impact? Did it show transformation? Was I able to show positive results or not? And then comes the evidence, where you give quotes if you have taken some interviews, where you give photos, where you give data, where you visually document what you have done. This framework was just for building a story, right? This right here is that turning project it into a project form, that story. Okay. So before intervention, after evidence. But how does one guarantee engagement with the audience? That's the crux, having a good communication, using good strategies to communicate. We do a lot of marketing, but one would find engagement is low. How do you fix that? Now you are talking purely in terms of marketing. Marketing is a little different than what we are talking about today, Miss Henderson. In terms of marketing, when we say, then there can be a lot of things. One can be that you are not using the right tools. Second can be that you are unable to reach your right diaspora. Second, third thing can be that the thing you are selling, either be a product or either it be a service, it's not again liked by your general public. Fourth thing can be that you have not used, again, if you are going into e-commerce, it has a lot of other things, other ingredients that can go wrong in what you are doing. If you are going for a store, let's suppose say you are selling something in physical, then again your location, your customer service, a lot of these things can be one of the reasons. Again, one of the major reasons which we do when we do marketing is when we study your the for example, we are selling a makeup eyelashes brand. We have created a brand for eyelashes. What we do very first thing is market research, where we talk about the competitors, what my competitor is doing and what is gaining him or her or that particular community company views that I am looking for. And then you study their strategies and then you apply them. You do not copy, you apply them and study. So you see, to do marketing, you have to do market research first. So again, which we are not talking about today, Miss Henderson. Ms. Abdali said, from where can we understand we made positive impact? In the after, where you are measuring the change. You can get the answer to this question in the after panel, where you are measuring the change, where you have done some work in the community and then you are able to get the feedback. Now, we were here 8, right? Ethical documentation, right? We have started saying that, okay, turning story into a documentation form or whatever the communications project we are desiring for or working on. Then comes the ethic part. Can you tell me what is ethics? Understanding ethic is very important. Morally right and wrong. Code of conduct. Yes, these are moral principles. In very, very basic terms, these are the moral principles that you can go for. So, morally doing the right thing to document. So, get informed consent. Since we are working on the campaign, yes, Miss Beatrice.
To me, ethics is about doing the right thing on the field. Maybe if it's about taking, okay, for example, if you're going to take information or you're going to collect data, you should make it clear, let the people understand this is what I am going to do. At this time, I'm going to do this one with this set of people, and let them understand it clearly. And if it's against what they want, they will tell you no. And you make sure you're going to keep what you told them that you're going to do. I don't know if it makes sense, but that is it
No,
in my head.
it did, and you are right. You are right. Yes, Miss Malika. Miss Leleka?
Yes, for me, ethics is a moral behavior that governs I think for me, ethics is the moral principle that governs a person's behavior, yeah, and how he conducts his activity in the society. So that is my opinion.
That is the right opinion. Miss Kanvi has set proper rules and regulations one need to follow to do work without affecting to any being at emotional, physical, or mental level. Yes, at crux, this is what ethical or ethics are meant in the real community. So, getting what are these ethics? Getting the right, getting the informed consent. Now, what is informed consent? Getting consent is one thing, getting informed consent is another thing. So, by getting consent, one should say that I have taken permission for the story. Informed consent is where you are telling that particular person, look, this is the narrative that I am going to go forward with. These are the things that I'm going to write. And I need you to understand what I am writing, and then you need to give me the clear permission before I document any of the stories, right? So, informed consent is very important rather than just getting the consent. Avoid exploiting vulnerabilities. Now, you see, you try that you do not use someone's vulnerabilities and then you turn them into emotional manipulation. You need to avoid that. If you are a good storyteller, then you need to avoid this. You need to represent challenges and then you need to make sure that you are not exploiting that person. If you for a very small minute think that you are exploiting, then you need to change your direction. Again, this is ethics, this is about morality. If you in your own opinion think that your morality is okay with whatever you are doing, then one cannot say anything. So this is rather about what you think is right and wrong. Respect dignity and privacy. You need to protect someone's personal boundaries. You need to protect someone's confidential information. You need to treat them with respect. You need to treat their individuality with respect. You need to give them what they deserve. So this is again, at the end of the day, what you think is right and wrong. Be accurate and truthful. Present the facts as honestly as you can. Sometimes what happens is that you are creating a rather certain narrative and you see that okay, maybe giving it such lens can provide or give it more views, but you again yourself needs to think that whether I am doing the right thing or not. It is about the integrity, it is about the aspect of exaggeration and the lie of omission that you are going to do. Again, ethic is what you yourself think is right and wrong. All we can say is that these are the four essential principles that you need to be responsible for in storytelling for ethical documentation. Now, Miss Sharon, you want to say something? Yes, Miss Feely. I hope I'm saying the right version of your name.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, so my question is showing, like you said, you need to get consent and also need to show respect and dignity. Now, my question is situation where you want to tell a story, or maybe you've gone out in the field, you are compelling a story, right? And then the person is like, okay, I'm not comfortable being captured. Don't take a picture of me, don't take a video of me. But of course, you can just maybe get my voice. And then at the end of the day, you need to maybe have pictures to present as evidence. Will your story still hold without taking pictures in a case where someone says no, don't capture me, or can your story still like make sense? Can it still hold?
Okay, so look at this way. I am talking about three things. One is the written aspect, one is the documentation project based, and then I'm saying going digital. Your
Okay,
story,
yeah, yeah.
if it's not having, if the person is not letting you have pictures, they want to be anonymous, good. Okay, you need to respect their privacy and maybe find a way to tell the story without their pictures and without any visual as well. Here, when you go for, you are rather talking about the visual aspect of your story. So when we go visually, we say that, okay, maybe I can use another picture that is as effective as the person or me telling the story. In that case, what happens is that your story needs to be rather more 10% or 20% more strong than if it was going to be, for example, it's at 60% and 40% visuals, then you need to make sure that your story is 80% strong and then 20% you can give to any visuals or without any visuals and then throw it out in the community and see whether people link with it or not. If your story is strong, if your structuring of the story is strong, if you have used the right lingo, then yes, I will say that people will connect to it. But that does not eradicates the fact that having visual is a good thing, or we cannot say that okay, always only the writing works and visuals don't work. All of these things balance and they go hand in hand. What you can do at your part is doing your best ability and then seeing that okay, whether the community or the diaspora that you want to work on is connecting with it or not, and then you cross your fingers, to be honest, what works or what doesn't.
Okay, okay, thank you.
If sharing a real story harms someone's privacy, should it still be told? If the person is okay with it, then yes, maybe. If they are willing to take this risk, again, um, this is a very tricky question because it will depend upon a lot of it is going to depend upon the topic that you are working on. If it's something um, that is of utmost importance that needs to be brought up into the light and you think that it's going to hurt someone's privacy, then you need to take a route where you stay anonymous. You keep the people anonymous and you talk about it in a larger retrospect where you do not pinpoint anything. You just talk about that, okay, there is this situation and we need to look upon it, rather than sharing someone's story or someone's private things. That can be one part of it. Again, these are the ways you can tell a story. And again, I'll say your topic is going to tell you what is needed. Responsible representation. We were talking about ethical documentation, and now becomes the responsibility part. Again, this is to do with you, what you think is right and wrong. You need to show people with agency. You need to represent individuals that as they are active participants in decision making and not passive victims, and you need to highlight their strength, their resilience, their capacity to change. You need to treat them as an equal human being as you are. You need to make sure that they know that they are the driving force of the story rather than you. You are just putting them again. This is your work. You are putting into a narrative, you are doing more work, but you need to treat them with responsibility as well. Use real voices in quotes. Let people speak for themselves. You give authentic quotes and testimonies. You amplify their perspective. You give their perspective in such a way that people think that they are rather speaking to them one by or speaking to them directly. Focus on strength and solutions. Create a narrative in the community that focuses on someone's strength, or rather giving about the solutions that can help solve the problem. Or you emphasize what works and how people are addressing the change, and then you avoid stereotypes. You challenge the simplistics of narratives, and you challenge one dimensional portrayals that okay, people are seeing it one way, maybe we need to portray it in a rather different way and present complex situations and maybe nuanced stories that reflect humanity and of those who are involved in that particular topic. Again, responsibility and ethics have to do with what you think yourself is right and wrong. One is societal, and one ethics and responsibility is within you. Now, visual and written storytelling. Now we have come to the part where we are going to talk about the visual ingredients. What is visually needed? I am talking about, since I was given this brief that you guys have to create campaigns visually. So I incorporated this part as well, where I'm going to talk about how visual storytelling basics work. Now, I'm assuming you have to create slides or presentations. So one idea per slide, meaning one idea per presentation slide. Keep each slide focus and pour on a single message. One idea, one slide. Strong images over text. What happens is a lot of people see your image on that particular site the very first thing, and those images create a very, very, very strong narrative about what you are working or talking about. So finding the right image is more important than writing the text. Then clear hierarchy. Hierarchy is what goes in a bigger font, what goes in a smaller font, and what goes in rather smallest font you can find. Now I'm talking about size, not style. So hierarchy is because it guides the eye to what needs to be read first, then second, then third. Then comes a white space. You need to make sure that your slide or your design is not cluttered. Writing that works. Short sentences. Keep your language very simple and direct for clarity. Concrete details. By concrete details, meaning that you give ideas in such a way that they are not abstract. They are able, that the audience or the person you are giving your storytelling, or you are telling your story to visually is, or your campaign visually is, able to understand what you are talking about. It's not rather vague. Active voice, driven with action, strong, engageable verbs. Again, since I'm talking about writing, I'm talking about the lingo, the language. And with clear takeaway, your conclusion. There has to be a conclusion to whatever you are doing. So you need to ensure that your audience remember the key message that you are working on. If a leader exaggerates details in their story for a good of people, is that ethical? Yes. But exaggeration has to stop somewhere. If I say that someone got injured, right? Someone got injured, and you write that they got injured and they had broken bones, and this, is it creating impact, or now you have to draw the line between exaggeration and telling a lie. This is where your ethics comes in. Miss Rupa said, oh yeah, just adding a little more realism. Not particularly realism, particularly giving it a narrative. See, exaggeration here, we are talking about giving it a narrative. We are saying that, okay, we are not talking about that the person had punctured bike or their tire was punctured. We are not going to talk about that, okay, the road was not good. We are not going to talk about that, okay, the government needs to do something. What I am talking about is that the person himself or herself need to be more aware of what they are doing. So you see, you have eradicated everything else and using that one particular lens. So this is the exaggeration you do. So you need to again draw a line between lie and exaggeration. Exaggeration is when you just give a little more spark. Lying is when you are not telling the right details. So think, what is lie and what is exaggeration? Now, here comes the digital platforms and framing impact. So framing is okay. Before moving forward, do you guys know what is framing? Framing is one of the utmost important um, concept in media. Do you know framing? What is framing? No one? Okay. So framing is a way or a process. It's a process, by the way. Framing is a process through which someone, either it be an organization, either it be a content creator, either it be you yourself who's working on a campaign. It is a process through which you package and then shape and then present particular information to your target audience. Again, giving it a lens, giving it a particular narrative. So framing impact clearly. So choosing the right frame is going to create impact. Choosing the right narrative is going to create impact. So what are the digital platforms? Again, slides for presentation, formal settings, more detailed explanations, posts for awareness. If you are creating an awareness campaign, then yes, you can go for social media post because it gives you quick engagements. You can go for multiple platforms like Twitter. Again, in this scenario, I must say that you need to understand the platforms as well, because there might be a situation where one topic works on one platform and it does not work on other platforms. For example, on X, you will find more political debate. So things like selling something and maybe campaigning for a different cause might not work there. But in retrospect, campaigning for climate change or working something politically, or maybe asking you to, calling to action in terms of protest or anything, that can work on X. Um, Again, LinkedIn has a different workplace, also different people. Facebook in return has a different diaspora, again, different working. So you need to know what works on what platforms. Posts for awareness, videos for emotion. If you want to create deep connections, then storytelling power, then you need to go for video. Not you need to choose your format based on the goal. If your goal is to just give presentation to your teacher or whoever, maybe the government officials, if you are working professionally, then yes, you need to make presentation slides. If you are working on a campaign and you need to let people know and you work in an organization that is more focused on that part, then yes, you need to create posts. And then if you videos, then yes, videos. Again, your story and your goal is going to tell you what is needed. Now, what is framing and how answering these questions is going to help you with meaningful impact? What changed? The first question you need to answer is what changed? Who benefited? I did all of this thing. What changed? Was I able to, let's talk about the same problem that we were talking about, rising heat and farmers. What changed? Were farmers able to save their crops? Who benefited? Did farmers benefited or not? How many? 70%, 80%, 10%, or what? Why does it matter? So giving these frames, answering this question in your particular campaign is going to create the impact very clearly. Then comes strategic goals and credibility. Again, connecting to a bigger goal, link your story to broader outcomes, show your work that my work, may be as small as it is right now, helps community in larger goals. It is going to help community with better climate, or it is going to help community have better regulations, or whatever you are working on. Show accountability. You need to demonstrate responsibility and transparency in achieving the goals and maybe the stated objectives to a larger community. Align with long-term change. Again, start small, but you need to have sustainable impacts for a larger future. Building credibility. Use facts and data. Again, support claims with concrete evidence. Again, if you are doing a claim, if you are saying that people are affected, it's a claim. Show how many. Okay, then tell how many those particular diaspora people are affected. Cite sources, references, liable, authoritative resources, or whoever work you are working on. Show consistency. Maintain alignment communication, or alignment across all communication. Whoever you are working on, whatever the stakeholders you are involving, you need to show consistency. You cannot talk about one thing in 1 month and then disappear and come back in next month and say that, okay, let's again talk. Consistency is also one of the one keys, because in campaigns, you have to build credibility. This is one of the most ethical and responsibility that comes on your part. Keep messaging honest. You need to ensure that the claims you made are truth, you are not lying, and you are not over exaggerating something. Miss Abdali is asking, is it ethical to use disturbing images to trigger someone's emotions, reactions, in our presentations? Hmm. Again, a tricky question. If your topic is calling for it, yes, but then you need to give viewer discretion. You need to tell that, okay, what I'm going to show is not for certain people. So I would rather, if you are not okay with it, then you do not need to see. But I have added something. Now, why I say your topic is important, because if you are talking about someone abuse, or if you are talking about rather this topic, then yes, you need to show, right? You need to show abuse. Maybe you need to show someone who is affected by it, or maybe you need to show something that is affected by it. But again, viewer discretion is very important, where you give a note before showing it that, okay, this is not for everyone. That is you being responsible and you being ethical. Now, this was an activity that I had planned, and I think we don't have time for it. So let's skip it. Okay. Before doing anything, before you have created a presentation or a Canva base or Canva post or whatever, you need to ask yourself these questions. This is a checklist. Is the message clear? Is it respectful? Is it accurate? Does it ask for action? Is it provoking someone to do something about it? Okay. You need to use the framework that I have talked about, and then talk about what you are doing in a very ethical and responsible way, and accuracy and data and everything. And is it at the end invoking someone to do something? Is it even you so calling for action does not mean that they have to do something physical. Calling for action can also be that they sit back and they think about it. Okay, they sit wherever they are and they think that, oh my God, this is a huge problem. I think so. I need to think, or maybe I need to look into it. This is also a call for action. So if you are even able to provoke someone's thought, then yes, you have done your work. So this is the 4 questions that you have to checklist and tick mark before you show your campaign or your documentation to everyone or public. Now, expected outcomes. Confidence in ethical documentations. You yourself should know that what you are doing is ethical, and we need your confidence in it. Structured storytelling skills, stronger visual and written communication, and ability to show credible impact. These are the 4 things that we want you to build in your campaigns or whatever the final projects you are doing. And then we are looking forward to you building good campaigns. Good design attracts attention, and good stories create change. You are working on both, and these two both go hand in hand. Anyone has any question? Okay, let me give you a very, very, very small demonstration on Canva, right? I'll through it very quickly, what we can do to make something. Let's just say that you guys are creating a carousel, right? Carousel is when you have multiple pages on one post, right? So let's suppose say you are tasked of creating a carousel on a feature. You are telling about someone's story, right? Um, is this a carousel? No, it's not a carousel. What I need is a carousel. Let me find a good carousel because I am unable to. Hmm. Let's just say I'm going with this one, right? This is not a carousel, but let's me. So this is the post, right? If you just look at the design part, the very first thing you are seeing is this image, right? So the very first thing that comes into your mind is maybe they are asking a question, or if someone is asking a question. So I need to you by default in your mind mentally prepare that okay, this is they are asking me a question and they want me to think about something. So you see, this is what is important when you are using the right kind of image. Whatever that image may be, it can be a real image or it can be whatever you want. You can have this 2D images or 2D animations or whatever you want. But choosing the right is very important. You see, first thing you saw this, then you saw this. Did you know? Again, did you know? Again, it's a question. They are asking you a question. So you are prepared because of this, and you come here, did you know? And then this is the headline. Did you know? They are asking you for it. Then you came here and they were like, honey never spoils and can last for thousands of years. You think back and because you were prepared in your mind, right? You are like, okay, honey never spoils and can last for thousands of years. I did not know that. Maybe I need to look into it, or maybe I need to focus on it. You see, this is what effective communication is in the very crux of it. What is headline? This is headline. This is subheading. And then if you want to add more details, then you can write more. Again, you have to choose the right design for it. Choosing the right image for it. This is how you visually effectively communicate what you want to tell people. Again, it's a storytelling. You are telling something rather than sharing. If we can't achieve a specific outcomes, from where can we know the problem? Um, then you go back and you start getting the feedback, or you start analyzing each and every step. Miss Abdali, you say that okay, first I did research. Was I right on the research part? You see, and you start tick marking that whether did I get the right answer to all the questions, did I did the right research. If I was talking about farmers, did I get the information about farmers or no? Or the information that I have gathered, is it analyzed properly or not? Then, if you are okay with that, then you go to the next step and then you analyze that as well. Here, you need to be as unbiased as you can. Okay, you need to be as unbiased as you can to get the proper answer to whether what is working and what is not working. Again, market research is also very important as to if you are doing a campaign, what are the other stakeholders in the campaign and what are they doing. Maybe what you are working on is already done by someone and you are just adding something that is not needed. And you need to come at a point where that has not been researched enough or that has not been understood enough, and you work on that particular topic, then yes, it is going to help people. So knowing all of these things is very important in the campaign, in whatever you are doing. Any other questions? If no, then thank you so much for joining today. I hope that I was able to impart even 10 to 20% of the knowledge, and you guys understood and learned something today. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Very
It was
insightful.
such an insightful
Thank you.
session. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.